Welcome back, everyone, to Let's Talk Business South Carolina. I'm your host, Rick Jenkins, and I appreciate you joining us today. And we're ready for our first guest. And our first guest today is Brittany Sinde. Brittany is the Associate Creative Director at Fuel. Fuel is a full service marketing agency that is headquartered right here in Greenville, doing business a little bit of everywhere. Fuel specializes in creating brand building strategies to help your brand stand out from the crowd. And as I told you, when we started in the opening, Brittany went off to Dubai and hung out there for a while before she came back to join us in Greenville. And now let's find out what all that's about. Brittany, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. It is good to see you. I can't wait to hear about a lot of stuff that's going on with Fuel. But we got to start with Dubai. Okay. So you graduated from Bob Jones University when?
In 2009.
2009, and then you just said, you know what, I'm out of here, I'm going to Dubai, and you hung out in Dubai for 8 or 9 years before coming back. Now, Dubai is in United Arab Emirates.
Correct.
Right? That's the name of the country, and Dubai is the big city. Why did you go to Dubai?
It was a bit of a fluke, honestly. I graduated right after the recession hit, so I knew that I needed to come up with some other options besides actually looking for a full-time job, and I'd always wanted to travel, so I lived in Russia and Israel, and then Dubai was the third place. It was really just a random connection, someone who offered me a job, and I just was open, and I went, and then I started my career in advertising there.
Got it. So you didn't go over there to take an advertising job. You just went over there, and you fell into this.
Yeah.
You loved it, you came back, and you're still doing it.
Yeah, well, I studied creative writing and psychology, and I never had any idea what I would do with that, apart from I knew that it was going to work out, and advertising seemed to be the perfect option.
How about that? Now, Dubai is one of the most wealthiest cities in the world. You could probably make an argument that it is the wealthiest city in the world, and it is also extremely hot. Before I came on the air, I just happened to look at this. The high temperature today in Dubai is 106 degrees. Yeah. The low is 92. It's hot. Yeah,
but 106 is pretty low, too, for Dubai.
Really?
So, yeah. I would say, 125.
Oh, my goodness. Are you serious?
Does
120, what does it feel like? It's not humid, though, right?
It's super humid. It's on the sea. So,
how do you even breathe?
Yeah. Well, you don't spend a lot of time outside. It's more taxi straight into the building, and then building straight into the taxi. And then,
Okay. Well, I could sit here and we could spend the entire time talking about Brittany and Dubai, but let's not do that. Let's talk some business.
Sure.
Okay, so Fuel, you all say that you are not an ad agency. You are not a marketing agency. You describe yourself as a brand building agency. What does that mean?
Correct. Well, I do want to make it clear that we're not saying that we don't do advertising or marketing, but brand building is basically a brand first approach to strategy and to marketing. So it's incredibly important for us to be able to deliver on our own brand promise, which is to be able to stand out in loud and crowded markets. And we feel the best way to be able to do that is through a strong differentiated brand and through a mix of marketing tactics that evolve over time. So similar to the name brand building, it's definitely a big picture, long-term approach to building on something that you've created with a really strong foundation, and you've evolved it over time based on consumer needs.
Right. So someone comes in and they want, I can imagine they're coming in, I want to do this, I want to do this. It's probably a little bit of hang on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Right.
You mean like marketing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's figure this out before we figure that out.
Correct. I think like anytime a client comes to us and they're looking to have very promotional, very tactical approaches to their brand, we sort of second guess that, because we think like if you're trying to build loyalty, obviously the way to be able to do that is to have a really strong recognized brand first, something that people can trust. And when they see a logo, they attach some type of meaning to that. And it's not just a transactional experience for them where you're constantly just adjusting price to be able to get their choice.
Yeah.
So in some way, I think we build brands that people choose.
Yeah, I can understand that. So a client comes to you. Does this process take them back a little bit?
Depends. Sometimes we have brand new clients with brand new brands, and then other times we have long established brands coming to us. I think we just want to know that you can answer questions across your team being completely aligned. So do you have a very strong foundation in terms of what your mission, your vision, your goals are, and your values as well? Do you know what your brand really represents and provides and promises to the consumer? And if you can answer all of those questions, and then you also have, market and consumer research to back things up and for us to have a way forward, we're not going to make you start at step one. But a lot of people who come to us are starting there. So it's important that we know how to support them as well.
What do you do when someone walks in the door, they're already at step 6 in their mind, and they're not going where you think they need to go?
Yeah, I think we definitely have to be aligned in terms of the process. We have a model that we call the brand blaze, which is basically the first step in our process for creating.
Brand blaze?
Yeah, the brand blaze.
BLAZE.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We're fuel, so the logo is a flame. And the brand blaze is this product that we've created out of our strategy, which takes you through 5 core stages of brand building. So that we can make sure that you're aligned across the brand essence, which is those really foundational core tenets of what your brand represents and what it promises, into market, audience, your primary challenge, and then ultimately your storytelling strategy as well.
Storytelling strategy. Tell me a little about that.
Well, I
would assume that you have to sit down and you have to have a long conversation and do some work, and drag out of them what they're trying to do. And
right. Yeah. It's the last stage of our brand blaze. That's basically us all aligning on what exactly it is that you can say and promise your consumer, and then building a messaging strategy around that. And again, those messages are all going to be rooted in the insights that we've uncovered in the previous stages. So it's really important that is the last step that we take together before moving into brand identity.
You had said something before we came on the air about looking for brands to partner with. Mm-hmm. Explain what that means.
Well, I think it really just comes down to us being aligned and knowing that we can provide value and that we have sort of the same goals. We really want to create those strong differentiated brands, or at least revamp existing brands to sort of evolve with the market and with the consumers. And if a client feels like, no, I'm not interested in all of that early strategy, or I'm not interested in going through an entire rebrand or whatever, even little tweaks, etc., and just getting straight into the marketing, it's not going to be a great fit for us because we can't market a brand that hasn't taken care of all of those core issues first.
I got you. So when you talk about partnering, you're just talking about let's work extremely close together each step along the way, collaboratively.
Yes.
That's the partnership that you're referring to.
Collaboratively, correct? And long-term, for sure. Because we can't create magic, I think, overnight. Yeah. There's this ideal scenario where we are partners for the foreseeable future and not just used as a partner for a couple of months and then the relationship ends. Because again, then going into the marketing phase, which is very iterative, full of a mix of tactics, et cetera, we need to be able to measure the progress and the growth of the brand over time. And the only way to do that is if you allow us to continue the work that we've already started.
Right. Are most of your clients set up in that partner type fashion, or do you have some that just come to you for, well, of course you're going to have some that come to you just for certain things, specific things. Mm-hmm. They come and go their own way, but most of your valued clients are partners in that sense. Correct.
I mean, you can't necessarily turn people away when you feel that there are ways that you can help them even short term. That's just not that's not our ideal scenario.
Right. But if that's what they want to do.
Right. I think it's just aligning on expectations.
Right.
We're saying we can do a better job with this setup, but if you can't necessarily invest in that at this point in our stage, then we're able to sort of be flexible, let's say.
You said you had a vision for businesses and partnerships and what that looks like over a period of time.
Yeah, for sure. I think just those initial goals and the mission and the vision and the values that we create earlier in the stage of the brand, we want to make sure that we're achieving those over time and always using those as sort of the North Stars of how we can measure our success or not. And I do think within the greater scheme of Greenville, I think we would love to see brands giving more back to their communities, investing more in their employees, and just making business a bit more people-centric overall.
So that is, let's back up a second. I'm going to circle back to what you just said there. Fuel is now owned by, what's her name, Mary?
Mary Church Cornett.
Yes. Mary bought Fuel how long ago?
Last November.
So it seems to me like when I hear you talking, it sounds like Mary has a vision.
Yeah, she does.
That Mary has a vision
Yes.
of what these partnerships look like to her.
For sure.
And she has passed that vision on down, and that led to the statements that you just said there. Yeah.
Yeah, we're very much aligned. I think one of the biggest things that Mary brings to Fuel, and I would say even to the Greenville agency industry in general, is she has enormous big brand experience. Her career has been in New York and LA for 20 plus years. She's worked on enormous brands that we would recognize if I said them and that we all grew up with. And I think her being able to bring that exposure to a smaller city like Greenville and to be able to pass that knowledge and experience down to brands that otherwise wouldn't be able to get that, and they would have to pay much more for much bigger agencies, is like a huge asset for us as well.
I can see that. And I can also see, though, that if you're coming from big agency with huge clients and huge well-known brands, they are used to entering into a partnership that is we're going to start with the foundation first, right? They're used to going through that and going through steps to strengthen your brand as much as you can. Smaller companies, probably not so much. Is that a difficult thing to sell sometimes to a small guy who may not have the kind of budget that it might require?
Yeah, I think that we're able to meet clients wherever they are. Whatever their budgets are, we can find a plan for them. And again, it's not like we have to take every single client through this enormous, very expensive process. We can iterate. I also think like just edit the process for them and just make sure that we're all aligned on the answers that we provide to those very core questions. But what I do think as well is very important is like for us to be able to sell the importance of investing in brand. Brand is how people choose. It's a shortcut to choice. And you can't really ignore that when you're dealing with a saturated market in basically every industry across the board. There has to be a way that you stand out and are able to connect with your consumer, and it's only through understanding those strategies.
Brittany, good stuff.
Yes, I think so.
Enjoyed the conversation, folks. That is Brittany Sinde, and she is the Associate Creative Director at Fuel, full-service marketing agency, headquartered right here in Greenville, and she is back from Dubai, and we're glad to have her back. And folks, don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick 60-second break, and we'll be back with our next guest.